Heidi ho, everybody. We're back. Arkham Tuesdays. Bad Publicity. After we have completed the Guardian cards, we are, we're not messing around. Let's cut the chitter chatter. Let's get right into Seeker here. Remember, this is Dunwich up to Blood on the Altar. And then when the other packs come out, we will go back to the ones that we are have already completed and adjust their ratings. Guys, so first out the gate, any changes you feel that we need to make with Guardian? I personally don't right now.
I'm pretty good with it myself.
I love I love the input that came back, but it's just everything's going to be opinionated and feelings. I mean, we don't play together, so what you're getting is 3 different group dynamics from an experience level of the game through multiple plays, and obviously your group's going to be different, and how you utilize the card bases going to be unique in your way. So you may share our opinions, you may not, but this is just the fun of a podcast where we have discussions like this. So guys, let's talk about Seeker. I'm going to pull up Mr. Rex Murphy. Thoughts on how he compares with Daisy kind of out the gate?
He's way more specialized than Daisy, I think. Daisy can be more of a support character. She can be your clue gatherer, but she's also does a lot of support. I feel Rex Murphy is definitely just straight gather clues. That's what he does. He's a clue vacuum.
Yeah, I totally agree with John there. He pretty much sticks to one thing. I would consider Daisy obviously to be support class as well. I don't think can fall under that definition of support, because he does his own thing and other people need to support him.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Daisy didn't have a problem getting clues with her, base stat of 5. So that was pretty crazy. I do like the fact that he does feel completely different than Daisy. Daisy, you're really utilizing those tome abilities to get the free actions and setting your decks around like this. With Rex, he's not really relying on that.
No, he's just more efficient with his actions if he specializes in what he wants to do. Right? Whereas Daisy gains extra actions, and she's more likely to be able to manipulate whatever. Not really manipulate, but do different things, whereas Rex is very focused, and he's very, very efficient in that focus.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys find, it's hard to build a Rex deck? Like how do you go about that? Like let's specifically look at the deck building requirement of no fortune cards. So we'll bring up the list of fortune cards here, and you can see that they are some pretty powerful cards that he's not allowed to use. Look,
You're losing a lot of money.
Yeah, look what I found. Awesome. Yep. In Survivor. Lucky version 2. Hot Streak.
Yep, Sure Gamble. So it's a lot of
oops.
It's a lot of I guess almost like check manipulations, or like that kind of thing. So you lose a lot of that stuff. So you lose a lot of. You're pretty much, kind of making your test, and that's what you're going to get, right? There's very little manipulation that, besides, like you said, throwing icons into a check.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And I think that has a lot to do with his weakness, signature weakness that we're going to look at in a second. It would make it far too easy to not have that trigger if he was able to use those fortune cards.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel like you would use him over Daisy? Like, do you think he needs a special kind of group dynamic, or?
If you have a lot of fighters, you definitely want him as your clue getter. Like if you have a lot of people who are very independent on their own and don't really need that support class, then he can kind of do his own thing. He still needs help and protection, but you don't need him as the support character, so he can go off and get his clues that he needs to do and focus on whatever he's good at.
Yeah, he's obviously the same fight ability, his combat. His agility is a smidgen better than Daisy. So, we're still having a problem, kind of. In my eyes, I don't know if I would run him off by himself.
He's there are cards that allow him to evade enemies and escape enemies if you play it that way, and you're kind of almost forced to. His even though he can take, he's got the openness of all the different classes he can pick from. If you want him to work, I think you're very limited to which classes you go with.
Mm-hmm. And so the trade-off was the agility for the health, I guess. You're sitting at 6 health, which is a lot nicer. I mean, we even said before with was it Roland with his was 5
brain.
5 brain. It's hard to go through a campaign sometimes, right? So I mean, Daisy, I've done it, but you're really second guessing a lot of your moves. So having a little bit more of a buffer, I do like, and I think I would definitely pick Rex over Daisy. I've played a lot with Daisy, but Rex just feels different. He feels like Rex feels like more of a sandbox. I can do whatever I want with him. I mean, obviously, Seeker class seems to be the I'm going to get clues class, no matter who you pick. But Daisy, I feel like constrained to be like, okay, I'm really using the tomes. I mean, because of her, her special item, with the book bag and her special ability. So I feel more constrained to build around that. Where Rex, I feel like it's more open, and things that I was going to put into Daisy, like the magnifying glasses and things like that, to boost his clue getting, so you get his ability, is cards that I was going to put in anyway. So, and then I'm not constricted by the, so much on the tome stuff. Do you guys have feelings towards that stuff? Like, where are you lying, Daisy or Rex?
I'm still in the Rex camp, just from having played through the core box with having a Rex in my party. It was really nice to be able to focus on other things, knowing that Rex is going to run into that room. He's probably going to grab those clues at a pretty efficient rate, and the rest of us can kind of focus on other things. And with him, you really don't want him to go off on his own, but I found that as long as he's about one room away or one location away, somewhere that
you keep him on a leash.
You can get to him easy, or he can get back to you very easily if he gets stuck in a combat situation. Excuse me. Then it's really nice to have someone like that in your party. But obviously, as we know, some scenarios tend to focus on other things. Not everything revolves around clues, and in those times, it might suck to have a Rex in your party because he feels kind of useless in that instance.
Right. What was, do you mind me asking, what was your secondary class choice for that Rex character?
Oh my god. So the person that was playing Rex, I think it might have been Matt. And to be honest, the only thing that I remember from his deck is that he tried to get magnifying glasses out as soon as possible. I mean... Once you have Rex with 2 magnifying glasses, it really doesn't matter what else is paired in that deck, I feel. He just is so efficient with that. So I can't even tell you what the heck he played, what other color cards he included.
Right.
It was just literally every game felt like mad dash for magnifying glasses and then go pick up every clue. So
right. Like I feel like with him you're almost limited. You almost want like the rogue or the survivors just for the like escape and evade cards.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be stuck with enemies, right? Like his, even though he has 6 health, right? If his fight is 2, and you have your his weakness as well. That 6 health is not going to last very long. Right? So, you're kind of, as much as Daisy is like you said, limited due to the tomes. I feel Rex is also limited in terms of his classes. As much as you're open to the 4 other classes, I feel like you're almost kind of limited to 2 to make them work.
Yeah, and I don't mind some of the the mystic cards that are going to move the combat off just in case I need it, right? Where I can use my will instead on some of those skill checks that is relying on combat to him being so low.
Yeah, but I feel like you'd rather, because of his weakness, you actually don't want to be making any checks at all to fight. Like, you just want to get out of there and go, right? Yep. So anything, a lot of the secret cards and the rogue cards is pretty much, you just exhaust or you leave, right? No checks are required. So that's almost better than actually trying to fight your way out or evade your way out, right?
Yeah. For his Elder Sign ability, it's a +2, but you may instead choose to automatically fail to draw 3 cards. What do you guys feel about that? I mean, obviously it's very dependent on what you're doing at the time, but I mean, as someone who really doesn't pull Elder Signs a lot, I've never really give these much super thought, but just since we're covering it,
I mean, I guess options are always nice.
Right? Yeah, but I feel like I've never been in a situation where I'm like, man, I could really just fail this test right now.
It's true as well.
Right?
I think it all depends. It all depends, because if you look at his curse, though, you kind of, I guess you always want to succeed, but in failing, you get to shuffle that back into your deck and obviously switch your draw order. Maybe if you're trying to find something, it might help you find it a little bit quicker. So if you get the Elder Sign with Rex's curse out and decide to fail, yes, there's that chance of redrawing Rex's curse. But if you're trying to search for certain pieces, then that probably outweighs that little negative of having Rex's curse back out on the table.
No, but doesn't that mean you would wait? That means you would but you have to pull the Elder Sign on the second draw of Rex's curse, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you draw and pass, and you draw the Elder Sign, that doesn't do anything to get rid of Rex's curse. You'd have to fail it and then draw the Elder Sign again.
So, or draw and fail with another sign.
Right, the second time. Yeah, the second time, though, right?
No, even if it was the first one. If it was the first one and you failed even with that +2, so for whatever reason you failed with the +2, then you would choose to draw instead, put Rex's curse back, and then draw 3 new cards. So there could be some benefit to it. It's like a really slim silver lining. I mean, I've seen it get used once, I believe. Yeah, one time it got used, and I can't remember what the situation was, but he did decide to, forego the pass and draw 3 cards because of the magnifying glass, need for the magnifying glass. So it's there. It's a useful draw at times, although it's hard to see when you'd want to actually do that. There are times when you could make use of it.
Yeah, because it's such a random, like, you can't plan for it, right?
No.
So it's not it's not like, oh, I'll just go to this empty location and
just keep making checks trying to draw this.
Yeah, you're like,
cards.
I'm gonna investigate. Where's that Elder Sign? Gonna investigate, right? And then so you
just draw 3 cards in that case. Just use your actions to draw cards.
I have a feeling it's gonna come at those times when you don't want it to come anyway. So.
All right. So what do you think of his actual signature? Is search for the truth.
Search for the truth.
Yeah.
So in looking at that, my thing with signatures is I really like the signatures that stay on the table, that stay in play, that you can benefit from for multiple turns. That's not to say that his is bad. I mean, it costs 1, and he has the 2 knowledge or lore or whatever they call it.
And a wild, yep.
And a wild, and then draw X cards where X is the number of clues on Rex Murphy. Rex is going to have a ton of clues. He's usually going to have, I would say, when you
minimum 4.
At least 4. And you can get 5 pretty easily. So again, in wanting to draw your pieces as quickly as possible, then this becomes a nice card. And obviously we know that all Rex is really doing is investigating. So even if you have your pieces and you want to chuck this for an extra 3 lore, then hey, it's a win-win. I just hate that it's a one-off, one copy, one use, and it's gone.
Yeah, that's really harsh that it's one of in as an event, you know. So you're either going to use it for its ability or use it for its skill check thing. The one thing I do like about it is that you can, most times when you're seeing 3 symbols now on cards, it's giving you a criteria, right? Like use only if you've, passed by 2 or more, or if you're, what is it? If your base is 2 less, those new cards?
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm not explaining it as well, but there's usually like a criteria to use a card that has 3 of the same skill check icons on it, and this one is it's straight up. You can use it for 3 lore if you want to. So I do like that, but part of me wishes they all weren't lore. I don't. I think you're in a seeker class. He's going to have, in lure out the yin yang anyway, with, like you said, magnifying glasses up. His base is already high. So do we, like, how much do we really need to succeed by? Right?
It is nice that you can toss it for other people too that might struggle at investigating, but then it's kind of like, would you really be investigating in the same room as Rex and having him have to toss cards for you? Like, why would you just be doing it
yourself? Yeah.
So,
but being a one of, like, and now I'm using it for someone else. My special, right? It's weird, man. It's a weird card. I do like the fact that he's a setup guy, and this is a setup card. So, I mean, in the right situation, it's gonna help you. But I would never lean on this card to. I mean,
what about his curse?
Ooh, his curse is a little more interesting, as we've already touched on. Shomar, you started to talk about it, so why don't you just
yeah, so I'll read it again.
Bleed into it.
Revelation, put Rex's curse into play in your threat area. Forced, when you would succeed at a skill test, return the revealed chaos token to the bag and reveal a new chaos token. If this effect causes you to fail the test, shuffle Rex's curse into your deck, limit once per test. So when this is out on the table, I guess intentionally it tries to make it harder for him to succeed at investigating, obviously. So say you're testing your lore for 2 or intellect for 2, whatever it's called in this game. I always mix them up between games. Say you're testing it for 2, you pull a +1 and win. You got to reveal a new bag, and that could be tentacles or whatever have you. And then once that happens, once you fail it, there's really no negative to it if it's during investigate. I mean, this could also happen during the mythos phase or whatever, in which case it would suck because you're getting having that bad effect happen. But in terms of what this card does, it just goes back into your deck and recycles. So you're not really too worried about failing on certain tests. That's why I don't think that this Rex's Curse is really all that bad. I mean, yeah, you have to pull 2 tokens, but most of his skill tests will be investigating in Mythos phase. Nothing else really. And yeah, there's a lot of bad things that could happen, but it's not like Rex's Curse is compounding and adding things to it. It's just trying to make you fail all the more. That's really it. So I don't think it's that bad of a weakness to have.
Yeah, and anything you throw into the check stays for that second draw, right? Mm-hmm. So if you add another 3 icons into it, and you fail and you pass and you have to draw again, those 3 icons still stay. So it's not terrible. It's not like you're losing those. So it's not the worst thing ever. It's just gonna be very inconvenient.
Yeah, I think if you had to lose the cards you throw in, it would be a lot crazier. But I don't know if that would be too ridiculous.
Yeah, that might be a little bit rough. That'd be terrible.
From a design perspective, I like this a lot. I think it's a really, really interesting designed curse for Rex. I don't like it from the fact that you just can't shake it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can. You just fail.
Well, you can. No. There's other ways to get rid of it too. Because if you had like Henry Armitage, and for those of you who played Netrunner, it's like a pawn shop. So you pull Rex's Curse and pawn it, and then you're good to go.
Well, yes, that's
in that
Are you
one.
allowed to though? My understanding was the ruling was you couldn't do that.
You're not allowed to pawn your stuff that you draw? I thought it was anything.
Yeah, no, I think there was. I think like curses and weaknesses and stuff are like stuff you can't get rid of any other way.
Oh,
That was my understanding. I could be wrong.
that's the case
But-
as well.
That's what you get for trying to game the game, man.
Shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, but normally all of the others have like some kind of condition that you can meet to get it out of play, like on your own. Burn 2 actions or whatnots, right?
Yep.
But the plus side of this is that it's making it difficult for you during that scenario that you drew the card, but it's not carrying anything over if you don't complete anything. Some of the worst ones are stuff that is going to give you a mental trauma, a physical trauma, and carry you through the campaign. Those ones are the ones that I hate the most. This one here it's inconvenient, but you can definitely play around with it because it doesn't wipe your skill checks that you're throwing in.
And it's a positive for this cycle because there's a lot of cards in the Mythos deck that, for example, if you draw out and have nothing left to draw, then you take 10 damage and die. So this keeps recycling. If you keep failing, then at least you have a card to draw, and Rex doesn't just take 10. So there's a little benefit to it there too for this cycle.
Well said there. All right, so that being said, getting into a ranking on Rex Murphy, where are you guys putting him?
I'm throwing him under good. I'm gonna throw him under good.
I'd say the same.
Yeah, good for me as well.
Wait.
All right, so let's get into this stuff. Obviously, if this is your first time through, if you missed the other one, anytime we're going to go through the cards based on the packs. Anytime we come to a upgraded card, we look at those by themselves. So we add them to a second page. So we skip them and come back. Okay. Getting into the first one is Laboratory Assistant. I don't know what's so funny so far.
For me, it's the art, man.
Oh.
They make her look a little risque.
Oh.
Open blouse. I don't know why that's all necessary. I just thought it was hilarious.
A Laboratory Assistant is a 2-cost asset with 1 lure. Health stats of 1 and 2. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2 while checking your hand size during the upkeep phase. After Laboratory Assistant enters play, draw 2 cards.
No, I'm not a complete fan of it. I feel like at Arkham I think I've seen like one time where somebody actually hit their hand size and had to pitch it. 8 cards is pretty big, and with no, I feel like there's not enough a draw engine to pull yourself up to a maximum hand size of 10, and paying the two for this and a deck slot, to me it's not really worth it, and it's taking up your ally slot. So I really don't like this card at all.
Interesting. Out the gate like that. For me, I don't know if I'm hating on it, but I just don't have a use for it. Is usually if I'm gonna ally up, it's gonna be with Chris in Seeker, right? Dr. Christopher.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Grabbing those resources like he can, and I just believe you're going to get so many resources with him and Rex together, right? So plugging up the ally slot with a Laboratory Assistant. I mean, Rex has some draw kind of built in if obviously if he uses Elder Sign ability there, if you're failing everything. If you use his event card to scoop some stuff, but I think, like John said, I've never personally been in a situation where my hand is flooded, like, and I'm like thinking, man, I wish I had, 2 extra hand size in the upkeep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true, man. It's. I think this one, most people would make the claim that it would be helpful for a character that has low sanity because that +2 gives you a little buffer. But then even still, like I know even in the Arkham DB review, whoever reviews them said something about it might be useful in Roland. But I'm thinking when you're playing Roland, you're not gonna drop a laboratory assistant when you could be having a guard dog or you could be having a B cop. Like you're never choosing her to draw over one card.
Yeah.
Or sorry, 2 cards, but you replace her. So
yeah.
You're never gonna do that over playing the cards that are actually essential to Roland doing his job, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I mean it would be useful as having it that way, as having her, but that's kind of like a reach in my opinion.
Yeah. Right. Because then you're like pulling like charisma into your deck just to be able to get her in along with the other allies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Roland's draw engine isn't exactly the greatest either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're going to get there, I don't think you'll ever be at that point where you're drawing up to 10. I've never seen a Roland player actually have like, more than like 6 cards, right?
Yeah. If this was something like if every time she takes a horror, draw 2 cards, then fine.
Yeah.
You get 4 cards, you're good to go. It makes it kind of useful, but with this ability as it stands and only having 1 intellect to throw into a challenge, a check.
Yeah.
Too many FFG words. To throw into a check, it's not really that useful, I don't think.
No. Down the line, that might. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, James.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like later on, it's not terrible, and it's not like totally ridiculous, like where I would be like, oh my god, this card sucks. But like I said, I just don't have a use for this ability, and so, to throw a line in the sand, I'm going to say this is just below average right now.
I was going to give it an average or below average, really, either way.
Yeah, I would say below average. I think there's some potential down the line if you start getting cards that say, draw up to your max hand size or something like that, then this card becomes pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But at the moment, I don't think so. So I will agree. Below average.
All right. Let's talk about the strangest card in the game is the next one. Strange Solution. This is a 1-cost asset that has a wild on it. It's an item of science. Test for lore. If you succeed, discard Strange Solution and draw 2 cards. Record in your campaign log that you have identified the solution. Holy shit, is this the mystery that is like holding this game together. I don't know.
I remember when I first saw this card, I was like, this card is amazing. I love this card. I love where FFG was taking with this game. And this card completely sold me on what's happening in the future. I don't care what it is. This card sold it.
This card sold my group so good, we're so bamboozled by it that someone actually was like, I better put this in my deck out of faction. Like, because you got to look at it. You're like, recording the campaign log? That's some serious shit, right? Like, like that's permanent, right? Right, Shomar? That's like school stuff, like permanent record kind of shit, right? Like, you're not shaking when it's in the campaign log, and you're like, all I got to do is get this out once. and it's in my campaign log. But is it worth it right now, guys? Like what's the old analogy, right? Like an action to draw it, worst case scenario, action to draw, a resource to play, then a test.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is a lot.
I mean, I don't know if it is. I don't think it can go into anywhere except Seeker, just because of the really expensive like check on it. Like,
yeah.
$4 is pretty rough for anybody except Seeker, and even then, to pass it, I feel like you have to throw some extra icons into the check already. But yeah, we put this in like the first time it came out, and then we got it out, and then we were done, and like, good, this is done. Good, get it out of here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I don't know, it's one of those cards where you're just like, what if? Like, what if I come along and it's just like, if you have the solution, you get this. If you don't, something terrible happens. You're like, no, why did I not put this in?
Exactly.
Yeah,
but it's a free 2 draw.
Yeah, 2 draw.
But guys, think about this. What happens if a strange solution is bad? What if the
I've considered that as well.
What if the consequences now are negative?
We don't think about that.
Yeah, like flavor text on it is right now is so fitting. It says, by all accounts, it should not even exist.
Yeah. So we're not. It's just a huge troll. It's a fantastic troll because people, obviously, like you said, as soon as you see recording the campaign log, everyone's gung ho to do it. They think that it's the greatest thing. So I hope, just for comedy's sake, that it's very terrible, and it blows the campaign up because it'd be awesome. Or, it might be the key to getting something done far easier at the end of the campaign. We don't know, and I think that's the great thing about it.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know if we can rate that one.
I don't know how you sit at this. From a design perspective, this is going to be weird. I might say this a lot during Arkham shows. From a design perspective, this is crazy. This is like deck building nirvana right here. Like, how do I fit this in? What do I do? Is this going to be something that's so impacting? Is it going to be something that's so dangerous? And now it's taking up a deck slot or 2 deck slots.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to have to, the only thing that would be even more frustrating is if down the road there was cards like this that were upgrades. And I have to spend XP on something, and then early on in the say the second scenario, and it doesn't come through to the last one. You have to hold it there. But I don't know, guys.
How do we even? I think this one just has its own box question mark. Just we don't know.
It just falls in all the categories.
Or do we rate it based on the draw and the icon?
I don't know. I think right now we just to me. I'm just gonna put it in average.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
It's in the middle.
It's to me, yeah. I mean, I can't. I gotta rate the card on what it does, and for me, and it's not really doing much for me.
Fair enough. If we're rating it on what it does,
yeah.
That. I think.
No. Rate it on how you feel, man. Like if you want to put it that's how I'm rating it right now. I'm saying this is an average card because from what I know, and remember, this is like a living tier list. So if some shit, if I come back and 2 episodes from now, or and I'm like, this is now a great card, right? You might know, but right now I just got to say it's average for me for what it does. It's holding deck slots. It's gonna draw 2. I have to do a check to draw 2 cards. That's really high. I can't use it anywhere else.
You know what? I'm almost tempted to say great just for the concept of the entire card and what it does, right? Just in terms of the sheer Easter egg, dangly bait that this card is. But I won't go that far. I'm going to say good. I'm just going to say good, just for the surprise factor. It is. If anybody's ever watched Lost, it's that 4-toed statue. That's exactly what this is.
All right, Shomar, we're a block separates me and John. I'm average. He's sitting at good.
I still say it's average, man. Until we know what it does. I mean, at this point, all that it does is you pay 1, hopefully pass and draw 2 cards.
All right.
How do we
2 actions?
How do we average? Or now that's weird that I'm using that in the definition. But how do we average that out? Does that become above average?
2 averages and a good is above average, I guess.
All right.
Barely.
This This has
Barely.
got the Barry Bonds asterisk beside it. Let me tell you.
Exactly that.
All right, let's see what we got next, guys. Shortcut. This is an interesting card. I'll read it up first. So it's 0 to play as an event. It gives us a will and an agility. Fast. Play only during your turn. Choose an investigator at your location. Move that investigator to a connecting location. I really like this card. I liked it so much that I really debated pulling it out of faction when I was deck building the first time that I was going into this campaign.
I agree. Any kind of free move ability opens up a lot of options. I always find when I'm playing, the biggest issue to being efficient is having to move to certain places. It's like, oh, I want to do 2 actions at this, but I have to move and then move again and then do something else. So I limit my actions. So anything that allows you to get that extra move, I find pretty huge. And it's fast, so it doesn't cost you anything, which is quite amazing. So it's not shifting an action, right? Like some other cards do that you see a lot in other games. Where it's like, you give up your action to allow somebody else to do something else. This is pretty much giving that guy an extra action.
Yeah, and it's free and it's fast, which
yes
is amazing to me. It's free, it's fast, and like we said, you have a character like Rex who struggles when he's.
Can I get one more F?
It's free, it's fast, and
fantastic.
Forgiving.
It's forgiving.
Because if you screw up, you end up on your own, and you're engaged with something that's gonna whoop you, and you know that you've got Roland next door. You can move over there, even though it's engaged to you. At least Roland can still do something on his turn to help get that off you. He can engage it himself, whatever have you, and you don't have to deal with the attacks of opportunity and things like that. So I think that this card's really, really good.
Yeah, I think
that's true.
Use those,
it's very versatile because you can use it on yourself.
So that is true. So that's something, because it is fast. If you move that person and that guy has an enemy on them, the enemy would move with them, but they wouldn't take the attacks of opportunity. Correct? Sweet.
So I think easily this card flies in, for me anyways, into the great category because of all the things that it does, the things that it affords you to do, and it doesn't cost anything, and it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't cost an action. So why not?
I agree. And it's got the 2 symbols, which are different, so it gives you more versatility there as well.
Yeah. The for me, it sounds really weird, but it's the symbols that tip it into the great category. I think if they were something else, or if they were both the same, or even hell, like we've seen on some of these secret cards, even if they were too lore, I would have been like, it's a good card. It's very versatile, can move you around. But the fact that it gives you that, the extra boost where you need it there, it's great.
That was an easy one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seeking Answers is next. Seeking Answers is 1 cost event. It gives you the lore and the agility. It's insight. Investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering a clue at your location, discover a clue at a connecting location.
It's fantastic.
we don't have a category that's that.
Oh gosh, that's so good.
Yeah, it's a action efficient. It's almost gaining you an action, right? Why would I have to move into that location where I can just sit here and gain it from where I am? It also allows you to get through stuff like barriers or doors. There's a lot of events that pop up or encounters in the deck that limits you from getting into things or out of things.
The location already has to be revealed with clues and stuff on it, though,
right?
So.
Right, but I mean, there's things where you can get barriers that show up stuff like that that just keeps you from getting in there. Or if you've got locations where it's like, when you enter, you take a damage. When you enter, you take brain damage. When you enter, something bad happens. So if you can avoid, but you have to go in there to get the clues usually. So if you can avoid that by getting clues by just sitting at the neighboring location, that's pretty awesome. You avoid all the negatives.
And the big thing is that if you're in a location with a very low shroud of 1, for example, and like John said, negative attachment like fog increases the shroud of the attached location, you're able to investigate at yours with the easy shroud, but grab a clue off of the other one. And then if you're playing Rex and you succeed by 2, that's an extra clue that you're getting from the bank, I believe. Is it from the bank for Rex? Rex Murphy, sorry, at your location. So you can use Rex, win by 2, get one from the attached location, get one from your location, and then you have deduction that gets an additional one from your location if you succeed. So Rex can get 3 clues in 1 turn off of $1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Because deduction is 0, right?
I do believe so.
It's a skill, yeah. Deduction's a skill.
Yep, it's a skill.
So for $1 and winning by 2, which you probably will with magnifying glass, you get 3 clues off of 1 investigate, which is insanity.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's said. I'm just kind of debating on. I'm just kind of debating if this becomes a good card or a great card. Mostly for the fact that I'm thinking, what if I was playing solo? I mean, if I'm playing solo, I now have to go into that location anyway.
First, yeah.
So I can't avoid that kind of stuff. So
even in group play, it's a limitation. So I think that alone takes it away from being great, because you can't use it all the time. You have to set the board up kind of in order to do so. So I think you're right.
So I like it as a good card. John, you have anything else to add there? Okay.
No, I think that's it. It's not playable in all situations. So yeah, it does. There is some limitations to it. So I'm okay with good.
Perfect. So that takes us through those ones. We're on to the Miskatonic Museum, which added "I've Got a Plan."
Yeah.
I've Got a Plan. It's awesome art.
I like the art, yeah.
This is a 3 cost, pretty hefty, for Learn a Combat. Fight. This attack uses your lure. You deal +1 damage if this attack for each clue you have. Max +3 damage.
It's like a Rex Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so I think that this is great. It's a little on the expensive side. And obviously we can already think of the applications for Rex. And I think, Rex usually has a decent amount of money once he gets set up. His magnifying glasses are fast and cost 1 each. And then Dr. Milan Christopher costs 3 or 4 or whatever he costs. And then after that, 4. And then after that, you don't really have to pay for too much other than, the odd event here and there. And like I said, if he gets caught in a room and you need to do some quick damage, the fact that he can do +3 is crazy. I mean, I know it hinges on a lot. It hinges on the fact that you've investigated already that game, but even if it was just getting off that +1, that really helps out for when someone comes in swinging to help Rex out. They've got that 2 damage on a monster already, and I think that just makes Rex even more useful. The fact that he can defend himself. Probably throw 1 or 2 copies of this, 1 copy at least, just in case, into a Rex deck.
Yeah, hold
and now
it.
he comes, and then hold on to it. Yeah, and then now he becomes pretty versatile.
Yep. Go ahead, Jason.
I was gonna say, this is in the faction that you want it to be in. Switching, I really like some of these cards that can boost up, or to use a check against. How do you word it? To use the check with a stat of something else. right? So obviously they're going to be really good at their, you're going to have a lot of book icons all over Seeker. So having the fight use that in a quick pinch is very handy. But like Shomar said, what is the icing on this cake is that sometimes when I feel like I'm a support character and I'm partnered up with a big tank like guy, usually the tank, if you can do 2 damage on a turn, that pretty much can swing the battle most of the time. And this card here lets you go to a max of 3, which is phenomenal. I mean, there's no other conditions in that, right? Like, it's just using your base, lore with any other lore abilities that you have out. So I think this card, because of the versatility of it, and I'm going to say that it's good. I don't think I can say that it's great. It's not really tipping the scales for me because I really don't want to be in a situation where I'm fighting. So this is my my last ditch effort, or we're fighting the boss, and I have to try and put in my 2 cents. Kick him in the nuts when his back's turned and run. Right, but to do that much damage in one action is where it becomes good for me. So I can still do something. Like I said, most of the time I find myself in a situation where my brawler needs me to get 2 hits, and usually I have to try and use hopefully 2 actions, but usually I'm using all 3 to try and make that happen. Like 3 attacks. This is just very versatile all at once.
What keeps it from being a great card?
For me, it's just like I said, like the versatility. I really don't know how much I would use this, or if I even
want to be in a situation where you want to use it.
Yeah, like I could even see, as much as I like it, I could see me being in situations where I'm in certain groups where I don't need to do the attacks, and even though scenario 1 I might have this in, I might find myself looking at this card and being like, this is the card I might drop depending on my group dynamic to throw in upgrades later on. If I'm playing solo, I weigh it a little more because I'm going to have to attack eventually. 3 attack is ridiculous, but again, that's playing to the that's me weighing the scales between like a group, single player, and taking everything and coming up with a final where I feel it fits.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement that I think it's not a great card, but I think we're good if it falls under the good category.
Oh man, you made me go through all that. I thought I really had to defend myself. Like you're like tell me what, convince me. Is this better than Seeking Answers? Me personally, I don't think so. But it's going to depend on that situation, right? Like obviously, hey, if you got,
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
If you need to drop 3 damage on somebody, it sure as shit is, right?
Yes,
but,
it sure is.
But
that
don't.
Shouldn't be my job.
No, it's not.
I think people would sooner include Seeking Answers than they would 2 copies of Seeking Answers than they would 2 copies of.
I got a plan.
I've got a plan.
Yeah, well said on that one. Pathfinder, we skip. Let's look at Essex. Art student. Art student is an ally. That's 2. 1 lure ability. The art student enters play. Discover a clue at your location. This is 1 and 2 stats.
Very similar.
What are you guys feeling? I don't have the card in front of me, but I assume that this art scan in is correct, right? Because it's saying test icons are it's saying two
Yep.
lore, so that's probably a typo right there, right? So
Hmm. Yeah, I believe it should just be one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just one. Just one.
So who wants to
It's a-
start this gun?
It's an average card to me. It's nothing amazing. I feel like, you know,
It's pretty much just lab assistant, but the clue variant.
yeah, exactly. And
Instead of
you
two
know,
draws, one clue.
yeah, you're if you're playing this in Seeker, you know, there's other ways to get clues that work out. You know, don't really need the sanity, right? If you're playing this in, you know, in roll it, I guess you could use it to get a clue, and then you know kill it off or something. So I guess it's like a temporary brain, which is not bad for you know the Roland, which has low sanity. So, you know, that to me that just makes it average. It's got some use, but it's nothing amazing.
Yeah, to me this is a strict. I this is I want to. My first intention is to sit it above average,
Right.
and the only reason for that is because I like its ability out of faction. I like this. I like this as a splash, but the problem that I'm wrestling with is it being an ally slot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so the thing is though, it's not bad in that case because it is a temporary ally, right? Like you're going to get the clue, and then after that, you're not really doing anything with it, so you're going to kill it off. So it's not like it's really taking up a slot that somehow you need to keep it alive because of this ability. You're getting it. You're pretty much paying 2 for a clue and, you know, 2 sanity, which for Roland is not bad because I think you pay, you pay 4 for Elder Sign,
Yep.
right? So I don't think it's terrible in that case. It's to be what you know keeps it where it is. It's the deck slot. It's do I have room to put this in Roland with, you know, all the other allies you take, all the other, you know, weapons that you're running, you know, the stuff to keep his sanity high enough. I don't know if, as much as this keeps the sanity around as well, I don't know if there's space for this, and that's what's limiting for me.
I agree with that. My thing is, I just think that it's very similar to Lab Assistant, and so I would still class it as being below average. Just not wanting to pay $2 to that one clue. Some scenarios aren't dependent upon clues, anyways. And I mean, I guess you could say that for any card where this is not going to be useful in every scenario. But I don't think that the applications of this card are, you know, enough to make me want to even splash it out of faction when I can get those in-faction allies that I really need. I know John made the claim for, you know, using it to soak up some damage here and there. But I think even not running that card currently, we've all been doing fine. So why add a card to do something that you're already doing well?
That's true. Right.
Where are you thinking it
valid as
sits?
I still think below
Well,
average, right next to Lab Assistant.
John, where were you?
I was going average. I think it's way better than Lab Assistant.
Yeah, I was kind of sitting at average too. I think I already.
Yeah, I can agree with it being better than Lab. Like it has, you can more people are gonna splash this.
Yeah,
into different factions
and
than
that's
Lab Assistant.
and to me that's the only thing that's giving it the advantage. I mean, I think in some situations, hell, I'll gladly pay 2 resources for a clue at certain locations at certain times, right? So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We have an upgrade next there, so we'll skip that guy. That was Essex, right? So now we're on Blood on the Altar. Preposterous Sketches. This is where we start to get interesting with some of the cards here. This is a seeker, obviously. Cost 2. Will and lore. Play only if there is a clue on your location. Draw 3 cards.
Draw is always good.
Yeah.
Draw is always good. You do pay for it, though. You do pay the resources for it, right? So, I don't know.
So here's
the cost. The cost kind of limits it for me.
Yeah, here's an interesting thought, okay? Now, if you're playing the campaign, if you're the kind of person that takes no replayability out of this game, okay? I think this weighs differently than it does if you're the kind of person that is going to take replayability out, or to replay this scenario. Because I look at this card, and if I picked up this pack and I'm in the middle of my scenario, I don't know if this is worth a slot in.
And the XP, right?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. But taking that account out of it, if obviously like when you can rebuild for the next campaign and stuff down the road and things like that. I think this doesn't really jump out at me as something like that's really crazy, even though the draw is so good. I feel that the limitation of there has to be clues at your location, I think it kind of drops that a bit. And I just don't really know where to mark it right now. Maybe you guys can help me swing it if it's above average or average for me.
I think paying 2 for 3 and the whole clue on your location, it's going to find its way into decks, and it's going to be very useful because, we always talk about how important it is to find pieces for your deck, to find events that you need, to find skill cards that you need to toss into checks. And so it is going to see play, I think. And as we continue, there's going to be ways to mitigate that cost and probably get it down to 1. We're going to see someone that reduces the cost of an event eventually. But I still think that it's a pretty average card. The 2 for 3 and the 1 clue on your location is a lot to ask for just to draw 3 cards when there are currently other ways to draw or to share draw, have people force you to draw, etc.
Right.
So for me, it's just a straight up average.
I agree as well. I think, like you said, the limitations. I don't think the clue at a location is much of a limitation. I feel like there's enough clues around that you will hit them when you need them. It's more the cost for me that's limiting.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you finally landing it on
Yep.
average? Yeah.
Yep.
Under art student or better than an art student?
I would say under art student.
Yeah, under.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel art student's more versatile out of faction.
Yep.
There she sits. All right, and obviously the other one is a upgrade. So that takes us back to look at upgrades now.
There's none in Dunwich.
Kind of an interesting spread there, though, over the original cards. Nothing is super bad or terrible in Seeker right now.
No, Seeker's really good.
Yeah. So, looking at the upgrades, there's none in the Dunwich. So let's get into the museum. So we're at Pathfinder is the first one. It's a 1 XP upgrade. It costs 3 with 1 agility thrown its way. Gives you a reaction ability. During your turn, if you are not engaged with an enemy or with any enemies, exhaust Pathfinder. Move to a connecting location.
Right off the bat, I think that this card is good because 1, it's not an event, it's an asset. It's going to sit on the table. And if you're playing a character like Rex, or just any character that's investigating really, then you know that you're going to go into a location, you're going to bleed it dry for clues, and then you want to get out of there as fast as possible and do the same thing somewhere else. So this affords you the opportunity to move into a place, one turn, maybe investigate twice, possibly spend another turn investigating 3 times in a row, and then knowing that you can start your next turn, move out because it's a lightning bolt ability just by exhausting this, move out and have 3 actions to investigate somewhere else. So I think this really increases the efficiency of any investigating character, or really any character in general. Anyone that can bring this into their deck can find use. Obviously not if you're the bruiser in your party, because you're probably going to be engaged with somebody, but for weaker units, for units like Daisy, obviously, who's a seeker, and for Rex, who don't want to engage anybody ever, then, you know, free movement is always fantastic in this. So it's going to be one that's very useful. And I think even the price of 3, I could even see this being costed at a 4 instead of a 3, because I think that that's a very good price point for something, an ability like that.
Yeah. John?
I'm actually going to go higher. I'm going to call this a great card. The cost of 3 for an extra action is, you know, we look at Skids paying 2 for an extra action, right? You know, every time he uses it, and then we look at DeLuca's like 5 if you get the upgrade for an extra action. I know it gives you the versatility of any action, but for the most part, usually in this game, you actually end up doing at least one move during your turn. You end up going somewhere. So it ends up technically working out to being the same, and you're only paying half the cost of that for every single turn, right? So this is amazing. I think, you know, even if you're looking at a non-squishy character like a fighter, you know, just getting the free movement gets you in so you can attack 3 times as opposed to twice.
Yep.
Which is sometimes, you know, just that extra attack is what you need to wipe out, you know, 2 enemies, you know, kill that one bad guy, gives you that extra option so you can attack again just in case one of your attacks fail, right? This card, top of the line.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that as well. The value you get out of here is just pure ridiculous for 3 cost. If you get this out early, you're milking this for the rest of the game. Anything giving you free actions is nuts right now, and especially in Seeker. You know, yeah. Why say anything more? You guys, yeah. 1 XP too. 1 XP.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah, it's so cheap. Yeah. Can you have 2 of these out, just out of curiosity? It's not unique, right?
It's not unique.
So you could have 2, right?
Yep.
And then you just like running all over the place.
Yeah.
Sonic it, just
2 free moves. That's crazy.
Right?
So that's the Pathfinder. Essex brought deduction level 2. It's 2 lures. If this skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location, 2 additional clues if it succeeds by 2 or more. I don't think there's any reason to again argue here. To me, this is great. If you're using deduction before, you're using deduction like now, and you're just eating these clues up way faster. 2 XP. Yep. Like, what else are you spending your XP on? Like, there's nothing else right now.
Nope.
Yeah, it's crazy that you can get 5 clues with seeking answers and upgraded discussion, upgraded deduction with Rex.
Are we all on agreement that this is top of the line?
Top of the line.
Is it better? Is it better than Pathfinder? I still think Pathfinder's better. Because
I think Pathfinder's better. Pathfinder is way more versatile. This is specifically for clues. So if there's no clues around, I always use it. Pathfinder, a free move is always good.
Yeah. Blood at the Altar brought in higher education. This is a 0 cost 3 XP permanent. This is the ones that you only need 1. Let's start it. So it's not a 0 cost. It's the one with a slash through it, right? Because it starts in play.
Yep.
While you have 5 or more cards in your hands, higher education gains lightning, spend a resource, get +2 will, lightning, spend a resource, +2 lore. Thoughts on this card?
I still don't like these cards. I don't know. I'm not sold on the whole pay one to get something. I know that they're useful, and I know that this one specifically would be very useful as well, and you usually have 5 cards in hand, or can get to 5 and stay at 5 pretty easily. I just don't like spending the resource for one single skill test and having to spend it before the skill test even happens. So I've never liked any of these cards.
I don't know. I'm probably going to say that to me, this kind of sits as below average to me. I don't know if getting or maintaining 5 is good. I mean, I don't want to be in a situation where, like, if you're down on resources to boost, where I'm also going to have to spend actions to be like, let me draw a card, gain a resource, and then maybe I can fight once, to get myself into a better situation. Or now I'm going to have to burn my first turn to be like, let me draw 2 cards and gain a resource, or, draw a card, gain a resource, do something else, because on my refresh I'm going to get another card and a resource there, and I'll be in a better situation to do this stuff. And plus it's giving you lure. I don't really need that. Probably there's probably better ways to manage that. Will, borderline. I mean, if this was combat, maybe, but it seems like
my thing is
you're doing a lot of rigmarole here to get this. I feel
like if you have 5 cards in your hand and you've built your deck somewhat efficiently, you will have in those 5 cards a card to chuck that's going to give you will or lore if you need it. So you don't really need to hug 5 and then spend money when you're going to have cards to chuck anyways out of that 5.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it's like I have to build my deck to keep enough lore in it, or lore symbols, to make sure I pass those lore checks or those will checks, right? In Roland, he doesn't have a lot of cards that have lore or will. So if I want to make sure I pass this, I need to add multiples of those cards in. This is a one of.
This is a level 3 though.
It's level 3, so you can't even take it.
Oh, I can't even take it, right.
So that's the thing. Like, it's such a high level, and that means it's pretty much only going to be Seeker.
For now, yeah.
And for them, do they really even require that?
Yeah, no. Because their will is that's true. Their will is pretty high, and their knowledge is pretty high. You know what? Like, this might become more useful. This kind of folds into the idea of, we were talking about the maximum hand sizes, the draws, and I think this will become better once that happens. But keeping at 5 cards can put you in a tough choice where you have to decide whether I want to pitch this card, or hold on to it because down the line I might need to make that check, so I want to keep it at 5. Who I was playing with was using Daisy and threw this in, and she was always at the limit, and it forced her to make some tough choices in terms of pitching cards to do things, or drawing first to do other stuff. So it can be pretty hard to use, actually, at this point in time.
So thoughts? To me it's below average. I mean, I don't think it's bad or terrible, because if you have a hand size manipulation, even with that other card, hey, boost your hand size by 2, but it's just getting there. I gotta say below average, but I mean, I can be talked down.
No, I agree right now. At this point in time, yeah, it's fun. To me, it's between average and below average, but it is shifting closer to below average, so I'm okay where that goes.
I agree with that as well.
Perfect. Well, there it is, guys. There's the Seekers all wrapped up. The link to this sheet is in the description below, so feel free to take it out, look at it. If you want to follow along like the program. Next week we look at Rogue. So, guys, thanks very much for everyone that joined us tonight, that followed along. Appreciate your comments below. Let us know if you agree, disagree, how you would have rated them. Like, subscribe. Catch you next week, guys.
Take
Later.
care.